Hi everybody, Master versus Many. If you're wondering why I look like this, it's because I am recently homeless. Been kicked out by chess.com onto the streets. I'm no longer showering. I think I'm gonna live and die by my new expressions of a Wookiee shirt and keep the beanie on. Nope, all seriousness, just kidding. But I am a little bit sorry that I missed making a video after yesterday's move was played. To be completely honest, what happened was I logged in and it said I had only a few seconds to move, which is the only thing we give people playing official vote chess games. That's like kind of their last warning before they run out of time. You literally have less than a few minutes. And I instantly panicked and played the move bishop to e3 after knight to c5 had been played, which surprised me. Knight to c5 being played. Again, I feel like Black's best approach is still going to be on the king side as we switch into analysis mode. It would seem to me that playing for g6, which is a prophylactic measure to guard the pawn, also supports a relocation of the bishop to g7, and playing for f5 feels like a pretty straightforward plan where I'm struggling to come up with something that I feel is concretely improving White's position. Now, the other thing I was expecting, of course, after the move I played, if you remember, was that Black would en passant, and that we would reach a more typical sort of the imbalance that happens in this position with I have the weak b pawn, and Black can get the c file, but I'm hoping to use the b5 square, maybe to get some long-term pressure on the queen side. I think that Black is equal in both cases, and doing well. You can play g6 here again to guard the pawn, and then continue to come back to the plan of f5 and relocate the bishop. Which, the reason why I say I struggle to find a concrete plan for White is because, there aren't any natural pawn breaks. If I'm pushing f4 in most positions, I'm either weakening my king or, if you already have some position with the pawn on f5, you might even just establish something like this. Again, in addition to the fact that it opens my king, I lack to see any real firepower behind these moves, at least right away, other than the fact that they are improving my pieces on a side of the board that I might have the potential to get more play, but it's nothing special. So I'm actually kind of happy with the position I have currently. If you look at the live position based on what I felt like it could have been a couple moves ago, I'm not hugely upset with the fact that the world decided not to take my pawn on c3. And even though I played this move quickly, admitting that I just didn't want to lose on time, and I figured I would wait till the next day to dive into the thought process fully as I'm doing now, I don't think this is bad for me. Already here I have a couple moves. One of them I'm considering to switch to analysis mode is knight to c1, which opens up the threat on the pawn. And let's just say g6 is played. My debate was, should I take on c5 or play knight to d3? If I take on c5, you can't take with the pawn because now you lose a piece. d6 is a tricky and sticky wicket right there. White's winning a piece. So if you have to take with the queen, that means I'm coming into d3 with tempo, and my only reservations of such a plan would be if queen to d4 is good for you. But that's really risky, right? I mean, am I not playing like rook e4 and then rook to c1 and bye-bye birdie, right? Driving Miss Daisy off a cliff, if you know what I'm talking about. Sorry, that was inappropriate. But, I mean, I don't think she's heading into the right place. So that means if you have to retreat the queen, well, already you're looking at ways for me to try to punch c5 through. I mean, I'm going to look at it. If I play c5, takes, and immediately gobble back the pawn I just sacrificed, you play rook d8 to avoid tactics with d6. I put the pony on c4. Strategically, I am feeling comfortable with White's chances here, unless there's something tactically I'm missing here. I'm sort of threatening d6, though it's not a very concrete threat. The queen can move, the pawn may be pinned, I don't know. But I don't think I can really be any worse. Unfortunately, though, I think there are more forcing ways for Black to deal with knight to c1. One of them might be h4, which, okay, I can head for the same type of line. I can take, and again, if you take with the pawn, I play d6, I believe. If you take with the queen, I go here, and once again, queen d4 would be bad. So I can still establish the play I want, but before I fully focus on my own queenside counterplay, I'm going to have to deal with the threat over here. And the options are either to take it or to play g4. g4 would seem like the most natural thing to do. Although I wonder if I took it and then immediately played something like queen to g4 and started gaining space on the king side, is that not a bad idea? Right, if you guard the bishop, maybe bishop e4. The other interesting idea is rook to e4. And if you move the bishop back, I have to deal with f5, but maybe I can make something tactical happen immediately. It feels like I'm going to need to buckle down and calculate tactics and understand that with all of you working together, the chances of you blundering a position are very, very small, because a large group of decent chess players that you guys are going to keep each other in check. Strategically misplaying a position is a possibility, hopefully, if I can create the opportunity for some things to be misevaluated. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for here, is that this knight to c5 plan was just not the best approach for black. So, okay, I played bishop e3. We know we're in the live position where queen to c7 has been played. And my question is, do I just follow through with the lines that seem most natural to me, which is knight to c1, force you to deal with the pawn on h5, whether that's protected or play the much riskier h4, and then decide, and by the way, the other approach here, oops, cancel that, we want to be in analysis mode. The other approach here after this is knight to d3 immediately and not even taking. This doesn't seem as good as taking and gaining a tempo on the queen with knight to d3 next, but I still have my queenside majority. I haven't given up the bishop pair. And without a lot of minor pieces on the board, I'm much less worried about this sort of attack, right? When your opponent is launching an attack against your king by pawn storm, they're always creating potential weaknesses in their own kingside position. So if they lack the minor pieces to make the attack hold water when it really counts, right? Like they need a knight and they need, another knight. They need all the firepower they can get for when the lines start to become open. Because of that, I'm not really worried about this move. And again, I might have like a simple rook to c1 and try to go back to my own simple plans of pushing over here and using my queenside majority. So I like this knight to c1 for all of those reasons. Whether I focus on the critical and more forcing variation of taking on c5 and knight d3, risking the bishop pair, but maybe getting a little bit more of a straightforward line to follow, or if I just play knight to d3 in general, I think both are interesting for white. And again, I think h4 is still the critical idea, where I'm going to have to decide, am I taking and trying to use the open lines and the fact that you have to waste time with the bishop, or am I playing g4, which has the merits that it guards f5, which makes that move a little riskier for you to play. It weakens your light squares, kind of keeps the counterplay to a minimum over there so that I can refocus on the queen side. So that also makes sense. I'm feeling like my chances are okay in both. So as is time in the Master versus Many show, it's time to make the move and put my money where my mouth is, or at least my mouse where my mouth is. That's this mouse right here, right? And forget about the analysis mode and let's rock and roll. Let's go for it. Knight to c1. I'm doing my last second sort of blunder check. I would love to have the time to just rook to the 7th rank, fully coordinate. I don't think you guys are going to give that kind of time to me, but if I do get it, I'm going to use my space advantage and really try to get every single one of my pieces on their most optimal position before I have to go for any of those concrete lines I just calculated. So it's on you, world, to play the most challenging lines. Work together, vote as a team, post your comments in the public forums. Remember, what's legal and what's not legal, right? We're all human beings learning together here. We don't need those artificially intelligent, overgrown lizards and fish to tell us what to do. You're here to learn, all right? We're all here to play fair. So, okay, there you go. Knight to c1 has been played. A quick refresh tells us the story of the Wookiee shirt. My favorite expression is and those are my favorite Wookiee expressions. So, in case you were wondering, like, hey, I woke up last night wondering, what are Danny Rensch's favorite Wookiee expressions? Now I know it's and one of my favorite Wookiee expressions. All right, you're welcome. I'll be here all week. Subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, right? Thanks for enjoying the vid.